Hi there, my name's Tom, and I wanted to make a video today about the new controversy where the Anglican Church is considering whether to adapt its language around God, specifically in relation to gender, which is a very hot topic, and I think it's a really interesting topic. I think it is worth discussing and worth looking into because it helps us understand why we use the language we do, and whether it's worth changing or not. And I think there's some who say we shouldn't even be discussing it, this is ridiculous, but actually it's a good thing to discuss, in my opinion. And it's not crazy to consider it at all. The reason I wanted to make a little video about it though is because the discussion I've heard about it on the topic so far has been not really getting to the crux of it, and almost just adding to the culture wars and looking at the surface of things. And there's some ideas that I've found really interesting and helpful that I'm not hearing from other places, so I thought I'd chip it in there. So first of all, it is absolutely true to say that God is neither male nor female. He's above all of that, above and beyond gender. However, I do think it is psychologically beneficial to refer to God as Father, and I think there are good reasons for it. I think it's not necessary to always refer to God as He, and perhaps if some of the liturgy was adapted to sidestep the word He, then that's okay. However, if we stop referring to God as Father, then I think that we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think it's actually good, in my mind, it makes sense to refer to the Holy Spirit in the feminine, because that's in line with the Old Testament, and I think there is something archetypally female about the Holy Spirit. But God the Father, I think, needs to remain the Father. So back in 2012 I studied youth and community work and practical theology, and I handed in my dissertation, which was about this very topic, like calling God Father. What are the benefits? Why do we do that? And how can we help people do that? But I found it a bit difficult. I found a bit of difficulty finding books that were specifically about God the Father. There were lots on the Holy Spirit and lots on the Son, but actually not that many on God the Father. But I did manage to find this one, Calling God Father, Essays on the Bible, Fatherhood and Culture by John W. Miller, who I hadn't heard of before or since, but he's a theologian and he's good. So I thought I would share a few quotes from this and a few other ideas that I found helpful in my dissertation. It's actually the foreword of this, which is the second edition, has got some really good little nuggets in it. It's written by David Blankenhorn, and he's someone that has been championing the importance of fathers. And so yeah, he highlights a lot of work by psychologists and sociologists, and who have really seen the importance of fathers. For a while, psychology focused just on mothers and their importance, and I think mothers are incredibly important. They're certainly in the first 3 years of a person's life, which are the most important 3 years of a person's life. The mother is the most important. But after that, the father can become increasingly important. And also a good father and husband. This sounds terribly traditional and conservative, but a good father and a good husband can really help a mother to be a good mother and a child to have a good, healthy start to life. And but here's a couple of quotes that I think are good to start off with. A central challenge facing any society, according to some anthropologists, the central challenge facing all human societies is the socialization of the male, and bending of male aggression away from violence and towards pro-social purposes, especially generativity, which I think is a really important point. We know that, if you look at number of people in prison, a huge number of them are male. And then if we think about families, like so often, if there's a single parent family, there 90% of the time it's a single mother. So he goes on to say, it is not because fathers are more important for children than mothers, and it is certainly not because men are superior to women and thus more deserving of being divinized as a byproduct of our language for God. It is rather because across human societies, fatherhood is far weaker and more fragile than motherhood. So you can, if you think about all the things that nature puts in place to help females become good mothers and become attached to their child, there's quite a lot, growing up knowing that you're capable of giving birth to life. And then just about all of the changes that happen during adolescence remind a woman that she can become a mother, and that they equip her to be a mother. And then the process of becoming pregnant, being pregnant, giving birth and suckling and looking after that baby, all these things, usually, not always, there are reasons why sometimes it's not enough, it doesn't happen, but usually that helps create a really strong bond between the mother and baby. Whereas men don't have any of those things. Fatherhood needs to be supported by culture. If the father has a strong, close relationship with the mother, then they are likely to have a very strong bond with the child. But it's us blokes, we need all the help we can get to be better dads, and good fatherhood is so important for a child's well-being. So one other little quote I was going to throw in is, he says also in the foreword, but much of the socialization of the male also depends purely on submission, the voluntary obedience of the male to a greater power, a higher authority. God the Father can teach adult males to act as his obedient sons, and therefore good husbands to their wives and good fathers to their children. So in essence, I think there's kind of three reasons for calling God Father. One is that it benefits children and people who do not have a present or good father figure in their life. Two, it helps men become better fathers. And three, it helps socialise males, even if they do not have a family. It is the ultimate that we can submit ourselves to. And a couple of other little thoughts worth sharing is, gender as a whole is a massive issue. And I think some of the discussion, certain perspectives believe that it's the blank slate theory, that we're all the same, and it's just purely culture that causes a difference between men and women. And I think there's some truth in the fact that male and female brains are basically the same at birth, maybe exactly the same at birth. However, male and female bodies are a little bit different, and because our bodies are a bit different, it causes our brains to change. And one of the best books I ever found for helping me to understand those differences, and a lot of people won't like this on both sides, but Richard Dawkins, The Selfish Gene, the introduction to this and the chapter on gender really helped me to understand why some of the differences between men and women are there, that are not just cultural. Culture is definitely part of it, but biology, deny it at our peril. We need to, if we want to understand ourselves as humans, we really need to understand evolution and the effect that has on the way we live. And this, although I disagree with Richard Dawkins on certain things, I see God differently, and I see religion differently to him. But he's pretty good on evolution, actually. Evolutionary biology, that's his thing, before his perspectives on religion. Another little thing I want to talk about before I end the video, because I know this is 2023, our attention spans are limited, including my own, so I'm coming into land. I'm going to be wrapping it up soon. But power and gender and the Christian God are important topics as well. I think sometimes in these discussions people say that, all men get given a lot of power which they abuse, and that's true. But I would say that's why the Christian God as Father, and also the movements of the Son and the Holy Spirit are there to grapple with this, and because power is not necessarily a negative thing. Some people seem to imply that wherever there is power there is evil, and there's something in that, but power isn't necessarily oppressive if power is wielded correctly and with grace and truth, and if we are to follow the example of Christ, then to have power is to lay it down. In fact, another little quote from the introduction of this is, in Judaism and Christianity especially, part of this socialization of males occurs when men are taught to understand male strength as synonymous with male servanthood and self-sacrifice. As Jesus taught in Mark 10:43 and 44, whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. And if we had that approach to things, then we perhaps wouldn't have such a negative view of power. So I think that's all I wanted to say for now, and I hope you've found this vaguely interesting and relevant and helpful. If you've got any thoughts or comments or questions or anything, please put it in the comments, but please be nice as well. Have a nice day, and I'll see you soon.